Welcome back to the final game of the final day of week 2 of Hearthstone Global Games 2019. It's also the final series that we have here in the top 32 before we go to our top 16 next week. And it is going to be the decider between our reigning champions for the Hearthstone Global Games in China up against decidedly one of the biggest underdogs in the Global Games in Thailand. And here to take us through all the action is my good friend, Galen.
Hello, Darroch. We are in our last match of the day to determine who will lead the final team in the top 16. I'm looking forward to a lot to this match specifically. Thailand has actually been showing up. I like what you said. They are an underdog. Their first match of the day, they had to play against South Korea, including a GM by the name of Dawn. And I think they actually played significantly better than South Korea in that match. And they've been playing quite well overall throughout this entire day. So they're playing against the reigning champion, but I think they've got a good shot of winning this.
I think they do as well. But if they're going to be getting over that hump, first of all, they need to, well, I phrased that wrong. If they're going to be winning, first of all, they have to get over this hump. And I feel like they're going to have a bit of a trickier time in doing so because Yu Ying here in China, unlike South Korea, realize the power of the frog. They are embracing the ribbit and keeping frog on the coin here, which I think you will agree with me is correct.
I will agree with you. It is quite powerful. It's, in fact, one of the most important cards, I believe, in this matchup. Spirit of the Frog. There we go. We see a Desert of the Hare immediately picked up. And in fact, they actually 0 mana spell alongside of it with a mutate alongside the Spirit of the Frog because it's just so important to cycle through your deck, get those 1 mana spells, specifically evolve, and guaranteeing that happens as much as possible is really important. I believe with this Zap picked up as well, they are 100% guaranteed to pick up at least 1 evolve.
Well, not quite yet, right? It could just be. Oh no, wait, yeah. Sorry, with 3. Sorry, yeah. You're smart. Derek's dumb. Yes, they are at this point 100% guaranteed. I think with the old lightning bolt builds of Shaman, I sometimes didn't keep 0 cost spells with Frog because I felt I wasn't getting my evolve enough. But I agree with you. Now that we're on the no lightning bolt builds, it feels very, very strong to keep it with the Frog.
I unfortunately have to correct myself again. They actually are running 1 lightning bolt, so there is an unlikely scenario where they play triple 0 mana spells and end up with 2 voltaic bursts and a lightning bolt. But it's quite likely that they end up with an evolve.
So I was right. Galen's
you were
dumb.
right.
Derek's accidentally.
Both teams here have a pretty explosive start. Desert Hare evolve just in hand for Patoyao. Both good news for Thailand. However, China is quite likely to pick 1 up as well.
How do you feel about Voltaic Burst on this turn? Because that means you're overloaded on turn 3 instead of turn 4. And then you can just go Lackey or Voltaic Burst and then evolve on turn 4 or 5.
I don't mind it. I just think that keeping the Voltaic Burst in hand does make some sense when you're trying to find a Spirit of the Frog. It's tough. It's a tough line to walk.
Like the line there could have just been you. Oh no, wait, no, sorry. Okay. So it could have been Voltaic Burst there, and then you go Lackey or Hero Power on 3, and then Hero Evolve on 4. I think I preferred that actually.
You got to push a little bit of extra chip damage with the 2/1 going face instead of having to trade into the minion.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't even consider that.
It is a bit interesting that they decided to trade there. I think that was maybe just free damage. There's also a scenario where maybe they would just like to play the Desert Hare immediately on turn 3. I doubt that's going to be the case. It gets punished really hard by Mogu Flesh Shaper, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that. That's a good point. I think it's probably just going to be yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think like just getting 1 or 2 drop in the board is like enough to push you over the edge to like very, very likely to win. But I can respect the line here as well.
I would be shocked and appalled if Spirit of the Frog was not played this turn.
Yes, sure, agreed.
And by shocked and appalled, I mean slightly surprised.
I would raise 1 eyebrow 0.5 millimeter.
That's quite a bit.
Is it?
The game from China is going to pay off pretty well, I would say here.
Yeah, it is indeed. Patiao has obviously the power play he's been leading up to for quite a while. 6 minions. He gets a couple of 2-drops, 3-drops, and some 4-drops. Let's see if they're good enough to win the game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Harbinger Celestia is going to become a lowly 1/1.
Yeah, that's a bit of a dud, as is the Garden Gnome, or whatever that one's called.
I wonder.
But the stealth is nice on the Hench Clan Sneak, the Hunter Race special. Perhaps he'll be blessed by the world champ himself.
Yeah, that's a card that has won the world championship.
Exactly.
Put some respect on that Sneak's name.
So clearly they're wondering, do you upgrade the Celestia or the Gnome here? I think, although you're not guaranteed to be hit by a hair here, I like going for the upgrade of the Celestia, yeah.
I agree too. V-Roy
really
is pretty funny. That's huge!
That is a huge draw. Alright, coin, yes, that always happens. Hair, yes. Mogu, let's go.
Lightning Bolt come out as well, Voltaire first. Depends on how you want to sequence it.
It's probably mutate first. I'd rather have the extra card than a better evolve.
You can mutate and then Goblin Lackey in and then evolve, if you like. Never mind. Different plan.
Good thing we got the evolve. All right, all is well.
Yeah.
Could go burst here to the both copies of Murloc.
I like the first one. Just because I don't think you need 2 Souls and Murlocs to really win this game. Generally, 1 is enough.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with another frog. And that is game. That was easy.
Evolve Shaman Mirrors!
I am going to say, although I'm being a little bit results oriented, confirm my thinking. As like one of the few actually interesting points in the matchup, I do think that Burst on turn 2 there was maybe a slightly better play for Thailand in order to maximize their damage. It would have made the Bloodlust, do even more damage in the end. They would have got a bit of extra pressure onto the board. But either way, as we can clearly see there, it was enough to win them the game in that instance.
Yeah, going back to the turn, I definitely agree with you. Based on how their game plan was lining up, the Voltaic Burst just made, I think, a bit more sense than the Faceless Lackey. Didn't really end up mattering. They did end up getting the Bloodlust at the very end. Way over people. Mostly, they had the important part, which was the Desert Hare Evolve, and you can make a couple small errors with these kinds of decks, and the power level is just so high that you really won't get punished most of the time.
And as you famously once said, Galen, as long as you win, you made no mistakes.
I definitely stand by that for sure. Everyone that has ever won a game of Hearthstone has played perfectly.
Exactly.
And everyone that has lost has through.
Anyway. It's just funny because you have like the most positive competitive mindset I think of anyone who plays Hearthstone.
Out of everyone, I do think that a lot of games in Hearthstone are decided by people making errors or people playing well, more so than the average person does.
Agreed.
There's a huge debate among like a lot of the top players on what the maximum win rate you can have versus an average field of players is. So you go to a Masters tour, there's 300 people sitting down playing some games. If you put the best player in the world against those 300 people, what's their win rate, over a large sample size of games? Right. I remember RDU was saying it was somewhere around 60%. And that sounds like a high number, but it's really ridiculously low. Yeah, it's ridiculously low.
You think it's
if
much
you look
higher
at
than that?
Oh, absolutely. If you look at
Oh,
stats
wow, okay.
of people like Just Saying, Hunter Ace, even like the top 10 players in the world or the top 5, you see a lot of people with, Hunter Ace had almost a 75% win rate in 2018, which was like considered the most dominant year of anyone in Hearthstone. You can get staggeringly high win rates in this game if you play it perfectly.
So what you're saying is that RDU's garbage for Hearthstone.
Behold,
If yes,
jewels
it's
of the
60% win rate.
sound.
To be fair, if you have a 60% win rate against the average person going to a master store, you're playing
You're
really
pretty
well.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, you're playing really well.
Right, anyway, in this game, outside of the hypothetical esoteric sides of Hearthstone, let's get into the nitty-gritty, which is there was just a hair and evolve into a whole bunch of rubbish. Wow.
Yes, it seems like they
That
devolved
sucked.
the teams. Yeah. The opposite way, Just go up, not down. Swipe seems
Okay.
really powerful here.
I like the swipe here. You obviously have to take a turn off the quest, which means that you can't play Oasis Surger next turn, which feels pretty bad. But I mean,
You can
gotta
still
clear this
play
up, right?
Oasis Surger next turn. That's the thing about
That's
Oasis Surger.
true.
It's still
That's true. Yeah, good point.
one of the things I find really funny about that card is it's just even outside of Quest Druid, it would still have just been played in Druid. 5 mana, summon 2/3/3s with Rush. It's still really powerful.
Yeah. Wow.
Looks like they're going to opt towards
Time waits
quest
for no
completion.
one.
Still makes a lot of sense. Oasis Surger is a 5/5, and you also guarantee you have a hidden Oasis.
I think I'm okay with this play. Like a couple of 5/5 Oasis Surges on the next turn probably locks this down anyway. And I mean, on turn 5, there's not that much that you're afraid of anyway. Like Bloodlust doesn't do anywhere near enough yet.
I definitely don't mind it. Completing the quest is something that is vital to winning these kinds of games. I definitely would not call it a misplay. I think it's very reasonable. In fact, it's probably the best thing that they could have done that turn.
Right, quest completed. Now we're in overdrive. Oasis Surger, are you taking out a 1/1 as well as a minion? Or are you taking out 2 big minions?
Wow, this is going to get...
It's going to be very good.
Yes, because it's going to let China clear an Oasis Surger and just develop 4 random legendaries.
Job's done.
That's right.
Colossus of the Moon here.
Ooh, let's go again! Ooh!
Those are pretty good.
Those are pretty good. That'll do.
For a second, I thought that was like really sick that they just get another Stormbringer, and then I realized like maybe
It's just reroll.
yeah, it's just a reroll. It's not fantastic, but it is pretty funny. Did you
Reroll
catch-
into 4 high reads.
There was a game, I don't even remember where it was happening. It might have been HGG, but it was Orange was on Evolve Shaman, and there was an Amet or a Thunderhead in play for his opponent, and he goes Zap, Hair, Evolve, and he gets a Archmage Vargoth off of the
Yes.
Desert Hair,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
it
a
zaps.
And it was like a 1 in 8, and he just zaps exactly the right one, and it was
Oh,
hysterical.
It was like a 1 in 300 for him to actually clear the Thunderhead. This is also very esoterical because nothing is in play right now, and we're talking about something that happened weeks ago, but it was still very funny.
It was like simultaneously the most orange thing and least orange thing to ever happen.
Derek, quick question. There's a Khadgar in play. When China presses the totem up button, do they get 1 or 2 totems?
Pretty sure they get 1 right because Khadgar says your cards that summon minions.
Exactly. Yep,
Okay. I passed the
Smart.
test.
you did.
But Soul of the Murloc will summon more than 1 Murloc, which is something mildly interesting at least.
I wonder.
But I think more importantly, we're focusing on getting down this Mogu, getting down this Sea Giant as quick as possible.
Definitely agree with that. Soul of the Murloc in play as well. Try and set up for Bloodlust as early as possible. Give the Druid no time to respond.
Is this a Soul turn or is it a Lightning Storm turn?
I like Soul because you can clear off pretty much everything, still protecting yourself around a
I
Starfall
guess.
if it was
Yeah.
down.
Okay, this is fine. Yeah. Are you,
A bit
are you
upsetting
having
that-
like, frame restrictions?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you having some frame restrictions with the feed, or is that just me?
It might just be you. I'm seeing things pretty clearly.
Alright, no worries, it's on my end.
The board is clear on the Druid side.
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have lots
it's,
of play.
it's all good.
What to do?
Interesting decision point for Thailand. The board is something that they have to answer as soon as possible, but there's really no clean way of doing it. Starfall Swipe could potentially deal with the board, but they're still going to be left with at least a Sea Giant in play. Or lots and lots of 1/1s. They could Starfall the Sea Giant and swipe the Test Greymane.
Yeah.
Time waits for no one.
It would clear up everything but 4 minions, I believe. They'd be left with 2 Murlocs, a 4/4 Gonk the Raptor, and a 3/1 Mogu Flesh Shaper.
Yeah, okay. Definitely feels like the best way to go, just clears the most amount of attack, really, because at this point it's just Bloodlust they're afraid of.
I believe that's lethal. That's exact lethal, right? 9 in play.
9, 21, 24. Yep, that's lethal.
Pretty good draw.
And who said that Lightning Bolt was bad? Huh. There we go. Nice easy game. Equalization there for China over Thailand, which is a big win for them to be able to get up and have a chance of making it through into the top 16. The loser is out of the Global Games, and the winner will be advancing through. So, big deal.
Yep, really good recognition from them at the end to cast that Soul of the Murloc. I think that was a pretty crucial thing if they want to capitalize on the Bloodlust in their hand. And it panned out perfectly, right? We ended up seeing the Lightning Bolt off the top gave them exact lethal. So really well sequenced out. I'm sure that they had in the back of their mind that Lightning Bolt was just exact lethal and setting it up. So a good game from them, I would say.
Yeah, and we're left with a pretty interesting bundle now with the Druid on either side, Rogue on one side, and Paladin on the other. I feel like that gives positives and negatives to both players, which we will dive into more deeply after a quick break. Welcome back to the Global Games for Hearthstone for 2019. Saying that in reverse, channeling the spirit of Baby Yoda as we head into this next match in the final series of the day. Thailand versus China. And we got up, I believe, next a Druid mirror in, our in class, but not necessarily in terms of every single card in the deck, Gallon.
Yes, one of the big differences that we see between Thailand's list compared to China's list is the fact that Thailand does not include a copy of Baleful Banker, while China does. And we've been talking about this a couple times over this weekend. One of the big things in this matchup is the fact that if you have a Baleful Banker, you can play for fatigue. You have an infinite combo at the end game where you will not get fatigued. You can shuffle an Elise back into your deck, play it, copy a Baleful Banker, and keep doing that over and over and over again, never drawing a fatigue card. Meanwhile, if you don't have that, then if the game does go to that late stage, you're often on the back foot. You don't have that infinite game plan and can very easily lose. So to break it down, generally what matters the most in the Druid matchup is cycling, drawing to the end of your deck. Whoever gets Nourishes, whoever gets Crystal Merchants, will generally win the game before their opponent does. So even though Thailand does not have the infinite fatigue combo at the very end, if they cycle through their deck quicker than China does, it's very likely that they will win the game. The same goes for China. If China cycles through the deck quicker than Thailand, they will often win.
Behold, jewels of
It just
the
so happens... Yeah, go ahead. I'll say one more thing about it. If they both cycle through at the same rate, so either very slowly or very quickly, generally I would put China as the favorite.
Well, that's actually what I was going to talk about, because, if they're cycling through their deck at the same rate, I agree, it puts them at a more even footing. But China have a slightly weird list where they have effectively gutted all of their late game threats, all of the bombs in their deck. They have no Cenarius, they have no King Feoris in favor of, Crystal Power, Wild Pyromancer, anti-aggro cards. Do you think that the late game threats from Thailand, like Cenarius and Feoris, will be enough to overcome in the mid game? Or are they just going to be able to remove all of that and win through fatigue?
I think it's a really interesting dynamic in this matchup, because what's normally a late game threat in King Feoris, for example, is actually very much a mid game threat in this matchup. Generally, King Feoris will be coming down pretty early on in most games. Druid matchups often go to fatigue, so 10 mana is pretty early on in the matchup.
Yeah.
Just an interesting thing to think about.
Time waits for no one.
Going back to your point, though, I do think that the addition of King Feoris will help in the mid game specifically. If China cannot deal with that, that's a game that Thailand is going to find themselves winning in if they have a very powerful mid game King Feoris.
And so I guess this cycle with the Crystal Merchants to be able to find those mid game threats feels pretty crucial, honestly, if they want to be getting through to any chance of a victory, because they are undeniably the aggressors.
Absolutely agree with that. China will be completing their quests with a pretty powerful hand, I would say. Oasis Surger and Nourish already picked up.
Both teams actually looking pretty powerful here, honestly. The Mark of the Raptor is a little underwhelming, but it does the job, I think, just well enough to be able to kill off the opposing Crystal Merchant and then carry on with quest completion.
I wonder.
I imagine they're a little bit worried about an Oasis Surger coming down. Mark of the Raptor will just give China 2 pretty easy value trades.
It's true, but that does leave one of their Crystal Merchants alive, which is a pretty big point, whereas both of them would just die otherwise.
Yep. Lots of factors to consider here.
The
I
other
think
thing as
killing
well
the
is
Crystal Merchant is very important.
I agree. I was just wondering whether it was Swipe or the Mark of the Lower, or Raptor, whatever that one is. Because the with Cenarius in hand, you kind of want to save the Mark there to summon the Raptors as well.
I believe it's called Mark of the Loa. Let me double check.
I think you're right. I think I was just being a dum-dum at first.
No, you got it right the first time. I do agree with you. That card is surprisingly powerful after you have the quest complete. It's a buff that also summons 2/3/2s, which are both, like, I would say, pretty overcosted if you just look at the card by itself. You know, giving me +2,
For sure.
+4 in taunt, or summon 2/3/2 raptors. But that's kind of like the hallmark of Druid 2 cards. They sacrifice a little bit of tempo for the flexibility. But yeah, after you complete the quest, I think it's a very strong card compared to its its half version. When you only get one half of that card, it becomes a lot weaker.
China here making the decision to basically say, you know what, with 10 cards in hand already, you can have all the crystal merchants you want. If anything, they're a downside at this point because they're starting to burn cards through your deck. I think even though it was myself that made that argument, I'm going to argue with myself there and say it's probably not a downside. You'd still like to be cycling through your deck at this point. But it's, I think, a worthwhile distraction from the Oasis Surge to just go with the Loti here instead and let them draw the cards if they want to.
Yep, that makes sense. One thing to consider about leaving up Crystal Merchants is that a Druid can very easily deny their own card draw. All they have to do is spend all their mana in turn.
For no one.
Which, when they have 10 cards in hand, is pretty easy to do.
Pretty easy. Yeah, I guess it's probably not worth innovating there. I was wondering if you ever do it just to like get 2 cards for an innovate. It's a pretty good deal, but you have so much card draw anyway.
China did seem inclined to give Thailand those extra cards, so from Thailand's perspective, maybe there's the mind game of, oh, they wanted us to draw cards, so we shouldn't.
I wonder.
Which is a little bit interesting. I agree with you that it's more so about just having an extra innervate is probably pretty impactful with like the Cenarius in hand, getting it out a turn earlier.
I don't know actually. I think I maybe preferred the extra cards. Like just cycling through until you get Elise and Zephrys active is like so important, I think. But I guess the more cards you have, the more difficult it is to play Nourish, which in a way slows down your card draw eventually. So it's very complicated.
All of these are pretty lackluster options for China. Hidden Oasis is probably the most powerful defensive tool, but it's still not great. I mean, look at what they're facing down. Even a Starfall here doesn't fully clean up the board. If they want to take out this Crystal Merchant, they have to reveal their Loti, and we've talked about how important it is to keep Lodi's stealth in this specific matchup.
100%.
Spell power is so important.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I think this might be the go-ahead for Thailand to just load up on the board as much as possible. Maybe play just a single Oasis Surger. China only has 7 mana going into next turn. That means that they will be off of Starfall Swipe. The added benefit of drawing 2 cards is still there.
Time waits for no one.
What to do?
So they are going to innervate here, which means that they can no longer innervate Cenarius the following turn. Which is a bit interesting to me. One of the problems with not innervating that turn was the fact that they would actually overdraw a card based on the fact that there were 2 Crystal Merchants in play. After they played the Oasis Surger, they'd go down to 8 cards, draw 2, and then going into their next turn, they'd have 10.
So really looking at this turn, it's just the fact that because the Nourish wasn't played a little earlier, we're really just seeing not quite enough mana to clear everything off. But
yeah, it's quite
a tough
difficult.
turn.
I imagine that a swipe could come down this turn. But one of the problems with that is it really doesn't deal with the board effectively enough. We even see China having to reveal their own loading. We talked about how dangerous that is.
It's very dangerous. That is one of the undeniable best cards to just have stealthed on the board for the entire game. And it does now mean that Dizdai has the option to push quite a lot of damage forward here. This is getting very scary for Liz.
Power takes many.
I like the Starfall usage. This is just incredibly powerful. Pushing 10, setting up for Scenarius, trying to find themselves in a really difficult spot. Not even a hidden oasis to protect themselves. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did they choose a Scenarius off of that Worthy Expedition over a hidden oasis?
They did.
I find that very surprising.
Okay.
What?
Clearly, we're in a spot where having a hidden oasis would be a lot better, so it's with a little bit of hindsight. But I did think at the time that they were clearly the more defensive players in this spot. The game was going to a state where they were on the back foot pretty much the entire time. Elodie had resolve for their opponent. So I definitely think that a hidden oasis was probably a better decision than a Scenarius.
And I mean, basically as a direct result of that, it looks
My
like we are
head
heading
is
into
too
his
full.
position where they lose pretty much exactly because of that. Oasis Surger, swipe, even with
Time waits for no one.
the full board of Anubisath defenders from Liss, just doesn't win. This guy's just
It
going
does
to take
not
the game.
win. Even with a Ferocious Howl here, I believe they are still dead.
Trade. Yep, that's exactly.
Yep. They gain 10, but then they lose 10 because the Oasis Surgers are still in play. A bit unfortunate. I don't think the Hidden Oasis would have really gotten them much further in this game, but it may have opened them up to get another turn, maybe draw Kuhn the Forgotten King off the top and stabilize.
Yeah, I think the really big one for me, and I sometimes find it difficult to perfectly formulate what the hand and board look like in my head afterwards. But I feel like for China, if they'd have been able to find a spot to play Nourish just one turn earlier, or just like, a little bit earlier in the game, maybe they could have got themselves in a position where they were able to have the mana necessary to clear off. At this point, it was just, we can Starfall, but we can't swipe. We can Oasis Surger, but we can't swipe at the same time. They just needed a little bit more to work with, and then I think they could have pulled themselves out of that one.
Yes, absolutely. There was a turn where I think they had 7 mana, and it just gave Thailand so much leeway to play so aggressively for board. Remember, there was a War Druid Lodi in play for China, and Thailand could have just ignored it due to the fact that China was so constrained on mana. So we're going to be going into game 4. Thailand has their Highlander Paladin left. I think it's going to be pretty strong versus what China has left as well. China does have Rogue, which is going to be a difficult matchup, I would say. Druid left for China is so awful for Druid. Highlander Paladin versus Druid. Highlander Paladin comes away with the win more often than not.
I would definitely agree with you there. I would say even more often than not, a lot of the time, just because of the power of the mid-game threats, which Druid doesn't have an especially good answer to. However, I think we can both agree, while Rogue puts on the pressure in the early game, it also has some pretty good answers to the big threats from Dizdai.
I definitely think Rogue is quite favored in this matchup. They're already off to a blisteringly fast start. Temple Berserker off of a Pharaohcat is one of the best things you can do versus Highlander Paladin. It just contests everything so well. They really aren't a deck that has reactive ways to answer threats. So something like a Temple Berserker, which gets really good when your opponent is just trying to fight for board the fair way by playing minions,
Let me think.
is just incredibly powerful.
Dizdai very clearly already on the defensive, having to coin out a 4-drop with none others in hand. Or actually, I'll take that back. He did not have to. There was nothing forcing him to make this play, just feeling that it was worth it in order to counteract the damage. Do you agree with that, or was that the case where he should have just waited another turn to smooth out his curve a little bit more?
Maybe there's a world where you're supposed to delay one more turn, coin War Gear into hopefully a Ziliax, but yeah, his curve is just so awful now.
So many.
Yeah.
He's going to need to rely on something huge turn 4. I'm talking Bellringer Sentry if he has that, as maybe one of the few cards, if only, that actually get him back in the game here.
That's
there is no
pretty good.
Bellringer Sentry in his deck. Maybe a Zephyrus as well. Crystology is
Yeah.
huge.
That's one of the better
Definitely.
draws you could get for sure. Oh, look at that. Gorgeous.
That's a combo.
Yeah.
You put them all together,
He-
right?
Yes. I mean, my first thought was yes. My second thought was sap. My third thought was I don't care about sap. Put them together.
If they're sapping a Micro Mummy, I think you're pretty happy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Kill the Bellringer Sentry. Micro Mummy is a mech, so you can magnetize the Glowtron onto it, make it a 2/5. Quite powerful against the 1/2s currently on board for China.
Quite powerful.
I must move quickly.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
We agree. That makes sense.
They agree with me. That makes sense.
Shush you. Actually, that doesn't make sense. Any good player agreeing with me always sets some alarm bells ringing. I'm like, wait a second, they must be messing up though.
It's been a bit of a long day today.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Right, okay, we got a questing off the top. That feels like a fairly powerful card against a somewhat non-reactive deck. Should he take the opportunity to just throw it down?
Yep. Underbelly Fence here as well is just an incredibly powerful tool to fight for board.
Mm-hmm.
So many options. I choose suit. How much is this worth to you?
Pretty tricky to sequence this. There are 2 secrets up, and you have to be worried as China that it could proc a redemption.
Yep.
So instead, they are just going to leave it as a 2/1.
It's pretty smart. You know, they're weak to Ziliax, they're weak to War Gear anyway. So just make it a little bit harder for your opponent to get a good secret proc.
From the Highlander Paladin's perspective, I would really like to see a Ziliax come down unmagnetized, trade the 2/1 into the 3/2, and Ziliax just kills the 3/3. Just like this. Yeah, I would really like to see this.
Have you ever seen a resurrect Ziliax? It feels pretty good.
It gets Divine Shield.
Mm.
Whoa!
Oh, actually, do you know what the most disgusting thing you can do in Hearthstone is? Psychopomp Ziliax. There is no better feeling in the world than psychopomping a Ziliax back.
That's definitely the most broken thing in Hearthstone.
The most. The single most. Cheating out 30 mana worth of stats on turn 4 has got nothing on rezzing a Ziliax with Reaper.
You know what the best feeling in the world is? Eviscerating a 7/4 Ziliax for 2 mana.
That's up there. That is way up there.
Who am I?
You know what the other best feeling in the world is? Mysterious Challenger on curve. Oh!
You know what the other best feeling in the world is? Wait a second. No, there's no really good feelings here.
Bad vibes only.
Oh.
Well,
So many options.
swing
got-
face, pick face.
A Waggle Pick that can hit face. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I think this hand just screams damage face is a priority.
Hope you get Leroy.
I guess you could
Yeah,
just
that's
try to
not
set up
bad.
for Amira's, Waggle pick a Vista 6/6 instead. You could still fight for board here. I don't think the game is in such a unrecoverable state that you have to go face here. One thing to keep in mind is that if there is a Never Surrender and a Hidden Wisdom up, we're still not sure on the secrets. You could actually Waggle pick a Vist the 6/6 with no detriment caused, right? But it wouldn't proc the Hidden Wisdom, and the Never Surrender, while it would buff the 2/1 and the 6/6, the 6/6 would still be in range of an Eviscerate.
I think he actually knew for certain that it was those two at that point because it wasn't
Auto Defense Matrix.
Auto Defense Matrix, and it wasn't Avenge as well, so it could only be those two left, I think.
So it was a bit of an interesting decision to not kill the 6/6, right?
Well, no, because it was Never Surrender. He knew it for 100%, right?
What I'm saying
Oh, no,
is that
I've done it. Sorry,
he could
sorry,
still
sorry.
kill.
Yeah, you're correct. And now I believe he's got much better information about Auto Defense Matrix as well, so he's going to be very hesitant before he tries to kill off this this mysterious challenger.
Bit of unfortunate sequence here. He cannot kill the mysterious challenger with the 3/1. Even if he wanted to weapon the Secret Keeper to proc the Auto Defense Matrix, Waggle Pick would proc and it would bounce the Temple Berserker back to his hand.
He could play Chef Nomi and hope for the 50% that it bounces the Nomi back to hand. Doesn't that sound powerful?
Yeah, let's do something else.
Something like this, I agree.
This is really interesting. They're committing to a race very early on.
I mean, I feel like that's correct, right? Like, how do they win board here, realistically?
That's fair enough.
With Auto Defense Matrix in play, I think that the face race is 100% the play. I don't think
Does
it's
that
likely.
mean from Thailand's perspective, it's just correct to develop a Tyrion here instead of a Ragnaros? They could play more aggressively. I like the Tyrion.
Agreed, because I think what you're really afraid of here is just like Leroy face and then they shadow step it back to hand.
Makes sense to me.
So now we're of course looking for sap as a #1 priority for List to, well, I mean, just to not, or just to be able to get anything through to the face, and also to not die.
Stat would be pretty crucial here.
Edmund's not bad though. You know.
China can bounce. They can pop the Auto Defense Matrix, trade the Temple Berserker in, shadow step the Temple Berserker, play it again, play an Underbelly Fence and an Edwin, try to go from there. They would have a Waggle Pick Eviscerate to answer the Tyrion the following turn.
Correct.
Choose soon.
Wasn't it strictly better to... I guess maybe it wasn't strictly better. They may have, they might want a 3/1 in play instead of a 1/2 or 3/1.
What were you gonna suggest?
They could shadow step the 3/1 in play here.
Oh.
And then play it again to re-give it 3/1. When you shadow step that minion, you get 3/1 back. Hard to say though.
Yeah, that is actually pretty tough. I think you might actually prefer the 3/1 here. Like, obviously it's weaker to consecrate, but it's kind of better because you need to start going face. Maybe it is worse.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
Let me
Definitely inclined to agree with you.
Yeah.
China's in a fantastic spot here. Or, sorry, Thailand is in a fantastic spot here.
Yes. China are not in a fantastic spot here, it feels like.
No, that's definitely the case. Snip Snap can clear off this 10-10 if they so choose. They can just triple Snip Snap magnetize onto a War Gear, trade over the 10-10.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
CMAT can also do it. I like the triple Snip Snap.
Quickly.
Winds of the south, come to my aid.
It looks like they're just going for Wind Fury Rush and trying to clear out both of these minions. That seems like a bit of an overkill to me. They gave up a 6/6 to get rid of their opponent's 3/1. Myers off the top.
Ooh. All right, we got a game on our hands now. That was the card. The
Yes.
card.
By far. There's nothing else that did it.
Yeah. All
You're
right,
gonna need
sap
sap.
to stay alive. There it is.
Prep Sap.
I'm out of cards.
They can do a lot more this turn, actually, because of that preparation.
Yeah, they can. So I mean, we're probably looking at here like prep, sap, waggle, pick, face. Or do you want to develop minions?
Definitely like the Prep Sap. I think that always happens.
Choose soon.
Yeah.
The decision point then becomes, do you Evil Miscreant or do you Waggle Pick?
Okay. They're taking a very unaggressive line, all things considered.
I feel like maybe I'm incorrect here. The Backstab Vendetta is quite powerful if Thailand had decided to go for an extra 6/6 and play with that Siamat, but I do think that maybe they were a little bit too defensive with their Siamat. The Wind Fury Rush to clear off the 3/1 I think was a lot worse than just having a 6/6 in play.
Put your faith in the light.
I'm again really confused by the line that Thailand is taking here. If they go Consecrate this specific turn, Sinister Strike is huge. If they go Consecrate this specific turn, they get to deal 1 damage plus 2 damage from Fatigue, so that's 5. The Rogue would be at 9. I guess they still wouldn't have lethal with the Zephyrus, but maybe there's a way to set up something that's a little bit better than just developing a Tyrion here. I could be incorrect. He's calculated something. Looks like 12 plus 3 is 15. That's going to be lethal this turn for China. That's a staggering comeback. Derek, I feel like Thailand should never lose that. That happened. I really have to admit that I think they were a little bit too defensive with that Siamat. Siamat going Wind Fury Rush, trading into the 3/1, and then trading into the Edwin when they could have just Divine Shield rushed it into the Edwin, give themselves a free 6/6. Maybe there was a world where that ends up being just a little bit too much for China to answer. Derek, are you there with us, buddy? It seems like you might be having a little bit of audio issues. In which case, can you raise your hand and say hi? There we go.
If you're trying to speak to me, I'm really sorry. I can't hear whatever you're saying. I'm sure it's very, very intelligent, and I'm going to try and get it sorted out as soon as possible and just look pretty in the meanwhile, okay?
All right, fantastic.
Okay.
We can't hear Sarah.
With honor.
I must
But it
protect
seems
the
like
wild.
I will be casting this game a little bit blind right now. Game 5 of the final match of this weekend. Thailand versus China. Whoever wins this will move on to the round of top 16. Whoever loses will be eliminated. Remember, the winner of this gets a chance to play for $75,000 prize pool. First place, I believe, is a $20,000 prize split evenly between the two players, which is a fantastic sum of money. And I think Thailand has a really good shot at winning this game. They have the coin, something that Quest Druid normally wants, and they're also playing a favorable matchup. Highlander Paladin is quite strong versus Quest Druid. They do stuff early, which Quest Druid hates. Quest Druid's weakest matchups are stuff like Reno Hunter, Combo Priest, Evolve Shaman, and Highlander Paladin, all decks that do stuff early.
That's right. They're just able to cheat out the big stuff right from the start. And also, I think one thing that we've kind of glossed over is the fact that I've actually just really liked a lot of the play that Dizdai and Patio have done on the Highlander Paladin. I think it's a deck that speaks very much to their somewhat aggressive play style.
I must move quickly.
Yep, I agree with that. We've seen a lot of impressive stuff from them on Highlander Paladin. I don't think it's the hardest deck. I definitely think Highlander Paladin is easier than something like Shark Rogue, for example, or even something like Control Warrior. But it definitely has its... What's the word for it? It has its...
Intricacies?
Exactly. That's exactly the word. It has its intricacies, and I feel like they've been nailing them every single time.
I like the curve they're going for here as well, of just getting out a 2-drop right at the start. Zephrys on 2 as well. They know that that is going to offer them Animal Companion. Maybe they'll pick Wild Growth, but more likely the Animal Companion to just get that damage rolling.
Definitely a hot topic for debate, especially with a 5-mana card in hand. Maybe the Zilliax is just better because you can magnetize it onto the Micro Mummy, and Micro Mummy is very likely to survive. I actually kind of like. I do actually kind of like the Wild Growth instead, but Animal Companion clearly has a lot of merit as well.
I was almost about to call it a mistake then before I realized that it was me being the idiot, where they played Zephrys before attacking, because I've seen players fall up to the inner rage that Zephrys sometimes offers when you play it before you attack with your 2-drop. But I think that's usually if it has 3 health, it will offer that rather than 2 health.
It's a good thing to know.
But yeah, it's happened before to me and a few others. But yeah, doesn't happen there for Dizdai. Oh, nice big beefy minion there.
As weird as the sounds, I'd really like to see Zephrys go face here.
Damn. Why not? Why don't you want to deny a card from your opponent?
Because of Swipe. Swipe turn 4, even though it denies them a quest, is just so good here.
I mean, it would still be good the other way, right? Except, I guess you get 4 damage face. Alright, fair enough.
Yep.
This also allows them, I suppose, to get Wrath for a card instead of just Wrath 3 damage.
What?
Definitely more of a minor thing, I would say. But yes, that definitely is impactful. So it seems like they end up with that same card draw from the Crystal Merchant, but 4 less damage face, which is a good way of putting it.
Did not work out well. Yeah, it worked out pretty horribly for Dizdai.
Have to imagine secrets are a bit more impactful here than a true silver champion.
I think I would agree with that, purely because it's the Avenge, which is such a devastatingly powerful secret if they trip up.
Absolutely.
For duty.
Crystal Merchant could come down this turn as a 4-mana 3/4.
Yeah. It trades pretty horribly against the 4/4, but I think you need to start making a chunk into it and hope for Swipe or Starfall off the top.
Yeah,
Probably worth it.
they're going for Baleful Zephyrs instead.
Okay, fair enough.
I do like contesting board here. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, they got to do it. So.
This allows them to just play the Flute Minion as just a 0-mana Anubisat Defender if they so choose.
Good point. Very good point.
It's getting a little bit scary, though. Blessing of Kings picked up off the top. That is going to spell disaster for China. Right now, they have no answer for a large minion.
Do you think that comes down this turn, or are you thinking Zilliax?
I think so. Blessing of Kings plus Hidden Wisdom here seems quite powerful. It denies Oasis Surger incredibly hard.
That's true.
from my perspective, it seems like trading the 2-1 into the 3-2 makes a lot of sense. And then Blessing of Kings on the...
Let me think.
You don't even necessarily have to do it on the Misha, but it requires
quite
a
weak to
bit more
Starfall
thinking.
if you do it on the Misha. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is if you do it on the Mummy, it's weak to Surger with the 2-2 still in play. Unless
But is it really weak to Surger? Because an Avenge gets popped as well, so 5 damage.
That's a good point.
2 damage.
Okay, good point.
I really I like your suggestion of putting the Blessing of Kings on the Micro Mummy here. It seems to protect against both Starfall and the... Excuse me.
Stop. The Oasis Surger.
Yes. Maybe not the Oasis Surger, or the Starfall, excuse me, because you could Starfall the 5-6, then trade into the 4-2, or the other way around, trade into the 5-4, and then... It's confusing. It's very confusing.
Well, but there's still a get down as well, right? Oh no, wait. Yeah, there's still a a noble sacrifice.
Yes. So, like you're saying, do it on the Micro Mummy.
It's just good against everything. Yeah.
What to do?
Well, I should say it's good against almost everything. This push onto the board here with Hidden Oasis, Anubisath, and potentially a second Anubisath is a little bit scary. This is a big push that Dizdai is going to be struggling a little bit to overcome, but I feel like he should have the stuff to get there.
Really hard choice here. Would you rather develop a 3-4? If you save this in hand, if you get to turn 9, Innervate Coon gives you a second Coon. Seems like that's what China is going to play towards.
Whoa.
Ziliax is brutal here.
Yep, Ziliax.
You get to kill a 6-6.
Don't even think about it. Slam it down.
Precision.
I think even if you got a Mysterious Challenger, this would be the immediate play. There's really nothing that would affect this.
It has to be Starfall, right? And even then, with the secrets, that doesn't actually
Wait.
work.
Wardrobe Lodi's huge.
Yes, Wardrobe Loti is huge. Especially 2 of them.
Yes, that's what I mean, because it lets you kill both of these minions. Guaranteed. That's actually fantastic.
And with that, Dizdai is actually taking a turn off the gas as well with 2 8 drops but no 7 drop. That could be the only draw that pulls Liz back into this game, actually.
Suddenly they're on a draw for a Nourish, Ferocious Howl, even Oasis Surger gets them back in the game.
Yep.
I think there's an interesting question here on whether you trade the 9-3 with your Wardrobe Lodi. Maybe taking 9 and guaranteeing that you have a Lodi for next turn is more impactful. That's a lot of stuff to worry about, though. I think just denying 9 damage from your opponent is probably pretty good.
Bit of a dud.
Not the best turn. It plays itself pretty much. You got 7 mana, you play 7 mana worth of stuff.
Yeah, I'm swinging, I think, as well. Even though you got a couple of turns before the Ashbringer comes in, you just want to get the damage through, probably.
Yep, I agree with that.
I wonder. I must move quickly. Let me.
At this point, they're just messing with us, Derek.
I mean, you can talk about whether or not you swing, right?
I'm sure they're debating whether to play the auto defense matrix or not. They might want to save it for Ragnaros, but like, when's a minion gonna hit something? That's my question.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question.
That's a Nourish.
A huge top deck with the Innovate. Wow. Liss has just got back-to-back, pretty much like only cards that pull them back into the game.
Well, you do it, right? You don't even care about Hidden
Yes.
Wisdom at this point. You have a Kun
You
the Forgotten King in hand.
100% What?
Need a hand, explorer?
Huh?
Okay. Oh, what? I mean, it puts a 5/5 in play, I guess, which helps you contest something.
Oh. There's no way that was right? You always
There's no
cast the
way
nourish.
that was right.
There's no way that was right.
Let me think.
Yeah. You want to start doing
This-
broken stuff with Kun next turn.
My brain is literally broken right now. Oh.
The final game of the final match of the top 32. What?
Let me think.
Okay, well, let's play Rag.
Yeah, let's play Rag.
Oh no, wait a second. Let's not play Rag and let's play Auto Defense Matrix instead, in case they rush in with an Oasis set.
Oh, you're killing me here right now, Derek.
Hey!
I'm having some laggy, stuttery issues right now, so I'm gonna be on a bit of delay. Oh no, the Hearthstone broadcast isn't working as well.
Don't worry, I am too.
They got another nourish, Derek.
They have another Nourish out.
Because,
If only they had the mana to spend on it.
And if only Thailand had. You know what? Focus. Recenter. They're still in this game. We're still in this game. It's going on for quite a bit longer, okay? Distai has Tyrion Redemption. That is going to be crucial for him winning this game.
I mean, I think you could actually argue at this point, with Kun the Forgotten King down, unable to be answered on this board, Nourish in hand, getting close to the hyper late game, China might just be in the lead here. Like, Tyrion plus Redemption is very, very powerful, of course, but Liz has answers to it in his deck.
In his deck, so far he's shown Recalcitrance to actually cast cards that draw
Let me
things.
think.
He didn't play the Nourish, Derek.
Oh no, wait! He's already played Banker, Zephyrus, and Elise. His deck doesn't have any late game anymore.
Yeah.
I take it back. What? Okay, never mind.
I must move quickly.
The Tyrion costs 8 mana. He's got at least 8 mana.
Put your
Yes,
faith in the
Thailand.
light.
This guy, thank you. Someone make some sense out of all of this.
Oh. Yeah, very funny. Right, okay. This is... So he doesn't know what the secret is. Okay, so it could be Redemption, Auto Defense, or Never Surrender, right? If it's Never Surrender, that goes up to 8 if he casts a spell, which is bad news. But I guess if he wraths it, even if that happens, he could still kill it off.
He's in a position right now where I think he's going to lose to a secret no matter what. If he tries to play around all three of them, that won't work. So he has to just give it up against one. So he can either play around Redemption or play around Auto Defense Matrix, but if he tries to play around both, it's not going to work out for him. Worthy Expedition here could be potentially very impactful. Wild Pyromancer as well. Does that let him full clear the Tyrion if he so chooses?
Time waits for no one.
I believe it's one off, right?
Really? Oh, yes, sorry, okay. I was getting confused with the attack. I was thinking about that. Yes, I believe you're right. One of them. Oh, that changed.
That's a huge pickup. Restore 5 health to the 7/5. Or to your face. I liked it on the 7/5, but that doesn't matter.
But why didn't he just kill it? Oh, was he afraid of redemption? Okay. fair
Why
enough.
did we all forgot? He could have just.
He could have just
could've
killed
just-
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
could've
He
just
was
killed
afraid of redemption though. That was the reason not to.
it. But how else are you getting through this?
Don't know.
Let me think.
The answer is you don't.
Yes. You were not supposed to cast it on your face there. In a million.
So you're
years.
supposed to.
That was the wrong play every time.
Did they somehow manage to find a way to?
None of your business.
I don't even want to say it yet. Okay, the game is far from over. Okay, I'm shutting my mouth right now.
Don't say it.
Got some
Move quickly.
I will say the play they made was not correct. Whether you're playing around either secret, it's not the right play.
Yes, you don't play around one of them. It's not you don't play around all of them.
Yes.
All right, Oasis Surger is going to come down, clear off this 3/4, and probably the auto defense matrix. They're just going to double bump the 3/4 here. Maybe not, because there's also a redemption up, and the 2/1 can attack back into a 5/2 Oasis Surger. Oh no.
Let me.
It's happening,
think.
Derek.
Yeah, it kind of
It's
is.
6/6 value trade, 3/4 goes face. You play your stuff so it's in play. I like this ordering. It's very important that they play the Glowtron first, just for redemption. If they played, they played the Anoia module first in case of redemption. That way, a 2/1 with Divine Shield and Taunt spawns instead of a 1/1 with nothing.
Yes, that is better. Nice pickup though there. That does
Starfall's
mean
huge.
that we are looking. Wait, no, there's a Never Surrender in play. There's a Never Surrender. Okay.
Oh no.
So it would be huge, but it ends up only clearing one thing. But they know that it's Never Surrender, so they can position it better than that. So maybe they target the 6/2 then?
If they target
Just so
the
it
6/2,
definitely does.
then I believe the 6/2 will resummon
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my god.
as
This is hard.
6/1.
Ah! Okay.
Why didn't they cast that Nourish, Derek? Why did they cast that Nourish?
This would be so easy. Oh well. The real problem now, though, as I see it, trying isn't even necessarily the threats that can come down from this guy. It's literally just that they're going to be fatigued. They don't have anything left in their deck.
Do they have any threats remaining? Do they have a King Theoris? They gutted that, right?
Nope,
They have no
never
King
seen
Theoris
it.
left.
They don't even have scenarios in their deck. They have literally nothing.
They have only one copy of Hidden Oasis. They've used their Lodi. They've got a Wild Pyromancer remaining.
They've used their bloop. Like, there's nothing.
I
A
think
fair
you're
and
right.
basic is probably enough to win on its own.
Let
Like, if
me
Disday
think.
just value trades here and doesn't take much more damage, I think he wins. Like 2/1 into 2/2. You
Pharaoh Blessing
probably-
the 1/1.
Yes. Maybe
And
not
then
actually.
kill both
Maybe
minions.
blessing the 6/2 just so it survives at 1 health versus a 5 attack 5/2. Or I guess you could use the weapon to take one of those out. Sure. Okay, this is fine. I'm okay with this.
Move quickly.
They want to save their health. Wouldn't you rather? No. No.
For duty.
Yeah, no.
No.
Anyway,
You'd rather have a 6/2 in play than a... But it doesn't matter. They're still
Definitely.
very far ahead here. I think
you would
that...
definitely have a
Jewels of the Sounds.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Starfall
I
picked
guess
up.
it
Do they
does
have any
stop.
other threats? Sir Finley, finally here to make some sense of this.
Reporting for duty.
Please, just end
Right.
this game. Life
Any
tap,
of the-
Ballista Shot. Yes, life tap, soul tap, excuse me.
Do you pick tank up? No, you don't. You pick salt up. Okay. Actually, maybe 4 health was better, so you can value heal your minions. Either way, I don't think it matters anymore. What a time to be alive, Galen.
And it's still not over.
It's
All right,
never
Siamat match had ended the following turn. There's no way that China has an answer to Siamat plus the remaining millions of threats in the Highlander Paladin deck. Somehow Thailand managed to find themselves in a spot where they actually win this game, which is
not
unbelievable.
only the game, they've exhausted Infinite Fatigue Druid.
You mean Baleful Banker is a 2/2 and Zephyrus is a 3/2 Druid?
Yes, I do mean that. I do mean Kobold Geomancer plus
Bloodfin Raptor.
Druid. Yeah.
What is the final card for? I've lost track of time and space, so there's no way I'm keeping track of the last card remaining in China's deck list right now.
I have no idea. I'm gonna guess.
I'm gonna guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Like unless it's untapped for sorry, Worthy Expedition. I don't. And even them don't.
I'm out of cards.
Oh, it
It's a
was.
Worthy Expedition, but that's not good enough.
That's just not good enough. Surger plus swipe to take out some of the snippety snappy.
But you're still
And then
dead,
you-
though.
Yeah.
Siamat's gonna lock it down no matter what. Disdai still has 8 or 9 cards remaining in deck.
Oh,
A swipe is not gonna answer 8 cards, even though the
my
card is
gosh.
pretty good.
what just happened?
Thailand is gonna take it 3-2. There's no way this game keeps going. Come on, concede, please.
Time waits for no one.
It's over.
Serenity now!
Sure, take a value trade. Keep it up. You can do it.
Spike face. Love to see that.
Their game plan here is hopefully they can connect face twice with this 5/5, but that's not happening.
That's not
The
happening.
4/5 could trade into the 5/3. Maybe there's a world where Paladin literally has nothing. 5/5 gets to connect twice, but that is a dream world scenario.
Divine Shield Rush.
I concede.
Island
Oh.
takes it 3-2. The weirdest endgame scenarios I have seen in a very long time. I don't know what else to say here, Darok. Congrats to Thailand. I think they've done a fantastic job throughout this tournament, but that final game. I'm losing my mind a bit.
That was a bit of a rough one. Should we take a look at the bracket rather than try and analyze that clown?
Yes.
Please. Here we go. We have our Group B winners and runner-up. New Zealand, I didn't get to catch all too much of the games apart from the one that I cast, but it looked like they were just playing some pretty solid Hearthstone. All things considered, nothing too fancy, and a justified victor in the group in, what was honestly one of the probably more misplayed field groups we've had so far in Global Games.
Definitely agree with that. One of the interesting things about New Zealand's run through this bracket was I think their deck lists were a little bit unoptimized. When they had to play against Thailand, they had to play against Highlander Paladin with stuff like Nazoth Rogue and Nazoth Mage, both of which are decks that are not designed to beat Thailand's aggressive lineup. But they managed to pull it through. Going back to the other point, though, yes, I do think there's been quite a lot of errors, specifically from South Korea in the beginning against Thailand. It seemed like they didn't really understand the Evolve Shaman matchup. And then at the very end there, we saw a very strange endgame from China on the Quest Druid.
Going back to the start of the day, though, we had Romania sailing through to a victory. I suppose that was actually yesterday that Romania went through. But Belgium, Turkey, and then Czech Republic getting through to a victory, which does mean Belgium and Turkey are sadly eliminated from the global games. But honestly, I would say if you put a gun to my head and force me to choose the 2 best teams from this group, I'd probably say Romania and Czech Republic. Maybe not necessarily in the order that they went through, but I think they are 2 very, very strong, well-deserving countries.
Belgium also did a fantastic job. Just fortunate for Oleg and Maverick that they did not make it through, but I did like a lot of their plays in that group. So yeah, it's been a very exciting day, very long day, honestly. I feel like we've had a bunch of best of 5s or 5-game matches instead of 3-game clean victories. But I'm a little bit sad that it's over. There was a lot of exciting Hearthstone today, Darok.
There was. We're going to be sad to leave you now, because I believe this was at least, unless the gods will it otherwise, your last day of casting global games for the foreseeable future. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have some actual insight and analysis. Makes a nice change of pace.
Yep. Thank you guys so much. I love working with you, Darok. I think this is the first time we've actually ever casted together. Enjoyed it quite a bit. And Lorinda, if he is still out there, I enjoyed it very much, buddy. You guys are very special to my heart. It was a fun time.
You always got to wonder if Lorinda's chugging along out there. You never can tell with a man like him. But I will say, yep, thank you for joining us. Thank you for everyone who watched. And congratulations to all the teams who were able to qualify through to the top 16. That is going to be happening next week, where we get it through the top 16 of our group. And then we're going to take a break of a couple of weeks after that before we bring you the finals. So make sure you catch us next week here on twitch.tv/playhearthstone on Friday. We'll see you then.